Hey everyone, welcome back to GameSpot's coverage of E3 2019. I'm Mike Mahardy. I'll be here for the rest of the day, along with Lucy James.
Hello.
And we are pleased to be joined by Rod Fergusson, studio head over at the Coalition. Rod, you just got to show off much more of Gears of War 5 a couple days ago at the Microsoft conference. What's it like to have more of it out there?
It feels great. You know, after not being able to talk for an entire year, it feels good to be able to talk about everything that we're doing right now and the plan to how we're going to talk going forward. You know, people are always wanting more information, and we're like, yeah, like this is our time to talk about Escape, our new co-op mode. But July it's going to be about Versus and have the tech test, getting people playing. And August is all about Horde. September is back to campaign. So it's not only what we're talking about, but their ability to know when the next thing's coming.
And how was the fan reaction to the Xbox Showcase?
It's great. It's been really great. You know, finding a new mode and having an aggressive way to play is really important for us. And just it turns it all on its head. Like if you played Horde, it's a little bit more of a defensive way to play. You need 5 players. It takes a couple hours. Whereas Escape is really 3-player. It's very aggressive moving forward, and it takes about 20 and 30 minutes to beat a hive. So it's really more about taking sort of what you know about Gears and sort of flipping it on its head.
Yeah, it's funny because throughout its history, Gears has had most of its history, Gears has had those 3 pillars, like campaign, Horde mode, and PvP. But now, would you say Escape mode is like a 4th pillar to the game, or because it's more than just it's not just a new PvP mode; it's its own thing.
Yeah, it's part of it's inside the PvE camp, that idea of the co-op. But you know, when we think about Gears 5, it's really about 5 ways to play. Right? So we have our campaign, we have Escape, Horde, which are the 2 PvE modes. We have Versus, but we also have a map builder now. So it's starting off, it's going to be supporting Escape, so that not only are you busting hives and going in and playing that, you're able to build hives as well. And once you prove that you can beat it, then you can put it out there and challenge your friends and other players.
Could you tell us about Escape from a top-down level? Because we saw a lot of it during Microsoft, a little bit of it during Microsoft with a few characters. But
right.
How will that mode function once we get our hands on the game?
Yeah, it's the whole premise of it basically is that you have this sort of suicide squad of these 3 characters who are willing to get snatched and potted and taken to the heart of the hive. And so what they do is they go into it and they basically cut themselves out of the pod, they plant this venom bomb, and then they run for it. And so basically you have this poison cloud chasing you like a rolling boulder behind Indiana Jones. So you have this poison cloud chasing you, and you have all these monsters blocking your way out. So it's basically like you can't stop and slow down. You only have a pistol and a knife, so everything you need to find, it has to be found in the hive. So every kill now is a new rifle, and you got to find a new room to find ammo and grenades and that kind of stuff. So you have to both learn the map and then figure out tactics and ways to get through while saving ammunition and getting out in time. And then what's really cool about it is it's really based around this idea of demonstrating mastery as well as speed runs. So it has 8 different levels of difficulty where we can add a different modifier over time. And you can add it every time you beat one, you can add another modifier, add another modifier, add another modifier, all the way up to master. So we start a beginner all the way to master. And once you get to master, then you're starting to put times on a leaderboard for speed. So I kind of shorten it down. You got to get good, and then you got to get fast. And then when on the leaderboards, based on how fast you are, then we'll give cosmetic awards to people who have earned them for showing that they're the best at that particular hive.
When you think of, there are a few games that are as synonymous with a mode as Gears is with Horde.
Right.
So when it comes to creating a new game mode, what is going through your head when it comes to approaching it and attaching it to Gears?
Yeah, I mean, really it's about finding sort of a space for it to exist in. You know, we've tried different things with Beast Mode and Overrun and all these different types of modes. And so you're trying to find something that's just not sort of an add-on or something just slightly different. We want it to be something that feels very uniquely different and a completely different play style. Like I said, we saw a great opportunity with the shorter duration, more aggressive, and now it's essentially a class-based system, because one of the big changes for Gears 5 is these characters have ultimate abilities. So it's not just about, before it was about your weapons. And so if I wanted to be an engineer, I could be Dell, or I could be JD, or I could be Cade. It didn't matter. The class was independent from the character, and that's not true anymore. So with the 3 characters you see, like that's Keegan, he's a support class, so he's got a resupply station he can put down and give ammo to his teammates. Mac has a tank, he has a barrier shield that he can put up to protect others when he's rescuing people. And then Lonnie's our scout. She's this one really aggressive. She has an electro blade that she'll use and be able to take out a bunch of people and stun them and chain lightning them.
What was the thought process behind going from that change from having these iconic character skins that just give you the choice of which class to use, as opposed to Gears 5, which it's almost like it's kind of inspired by hero shooters, where it's this noticeable, recognizable person who you kind of have these associated abilities with, and it will always be that ability, always be this class. What was the decision behind that kind of change?
Yeah, we just wanted the characters to have a little bit more meaning and depth in them. The fact that you could be any class with any character just meant it didn't. If you like Kate, you could be Kate on everything. And we wanted you to have to feel like, oh, actually, I want to play a different style, so I'll play as a different character, and you get to experience the other characters. We had a little bit of that in Judgment with Overrun. That Baird was the engineer and Cole was tossing out ammo crates. So this idea of going back to that and having these classes associated with the characters, and then you can level up your character. You're like, oh, Keegan's level 10, I'm going to go and level up Kate now, or I'm going to go level up, Mac or Lonnie, those sorts of things. So it kind of creates a different sort of perspective in the play.
Can we talk a little bit about the Terminator tease?
Sure.
How did that come about?
It's just one of the things that, we've always been fans of the Terminator franchise, and when we hear coming back with James Cameron and Linda Hamilton, and we were just really excited about it. When we look at Sarah Connor as a character, it really resonated with us in terms of how we've been telling Kate's story. Kate went from this sort of outsider civilian into this warrior now that's trying to help save humanity, and it's kind of the same story for Sarah Connor. And so this idea of being able to bring these two franchises together in a really cool way is exciting to us. So anybody who pre-orders, or if anybody who plays in the first week, if you have like Game Pass, for example, you'll get the character pack, which will be the T-800, Sarah Connor, plus a bunch of cosmetics around the Dark Fate movie. And what's really, really exciting, and I'm really excited about, is that Linda's actually going to do the voice for Sarah Connor.
Oh, amazing.
So in a couple of weeks, we're going to go in the booth with her and start recording, so it's going to be exciting.
Were you aware of the fact that Terminator is also going to be in Ghost Recon as well?
Yeah, that was something that was new. That was interesting, though. I think, obviously, Dark Fate is a huge movie, so I've seen little bits and pieces of it now, and I'm really excited for how the movie's looking.
Seems like Gears of War 5 is making a bunch of changes with how characters function, and you're obviously adding the new mode. Are you going to be changing at all how you release that content? Because Gears of War has always been, Gears of War will come out and Horde mode will have X number of maps. It's not like you're releasing them episodically. Is anything in that regard going to change with 5 that you know of?
Sorry, that threw me on that. If I know of. Yeah, actually, no. It's now a question about how to phrase it to you.
Or that you can say, yeah. I hope you would know.
Basically, we're looking at, Gears 4 was sort of our first attempt at a sort of, service is too strong of a word, as games as a service, but the idea of really lengthening the sustain was really important to us, and so finding this way of delivering content. It's one of the things right now, like Gears 4, if you go to download it, it's like 100 gig download, and people are like, what the heck, why 100 gig? It's such a big game, and you're like, it's because we put out 2 maps every month for 2 years,
there's a ton.
It was just, we put out a lot of content, and so as we look to Gears 5, we want to have the same sort of how do we deliver the right content at the right time, and especially when you look at how we support Map Builder as an example, and how we support eSports, because those are things that you can sort of definitely deliver more content outside of the box. We're definitely looking at how do we bring in new characters and new cosmetics and all those sorts of things post-release.
Speaking of Gears as an esport, what are your kind of performance indicators that you're looking at in terms of how Gears as an esport is performing?
Yeah, when we started back into esports, when we were back in the original trilogy when I was at Epic with 1, 2, and 3, we really didn't pay that much attention to professional gamers. We were sort of they're the 1% of our audience, and they're going to do what they're going to do, so we're just going to focus on the mainstream, and we sort of let them do whatever they were doing. And so I was really happy when in 2014 when I came into the Coalition, we really made it a big part of our plan. And so with Ultimate Edition, we said, okay, we're gonna crawl. We're just gonna figure this out. We're gonna make a bunch of mistakes, but at least we'll learn. And really, the Ultimate Edition, as a remake of Gears 1, didn't have any of the tools, didn't have a good spectator mode, didn't have all the things you really needed for an esport. So with Gears 4, we feel like, okay, well, now we're gonna try to walk. And so now we got great content being produced. We're talking about the players, and we're really focused on what are the different kinds of things we could do as an esport. And now, we've had such great success. 2.5 years after launch, we still had the biggest viewing we've ever had at one of our events. So it shows the value of esports and sort of keeping that continuity through sustain. And now we're I feel like we're on the cusp of running now in our plan, because we're on E-League, we're going to be on national television, and we've got even more tools and even more things that we've changed escalation, and we'll find out lots about that in July. But we're just really embracing that, and it's not at the detriment of the rest. That I talked about on the stage, this mode called Arcade, and Arcade is really a mode that's really tailored to the mass. And so, but we still also have to stay focused on what our esports program is going to be like.
there's this sense, like, I think the Coalition is one of the more interesting studios working today. In a similar sense, that 343 was formed specifically to create Halo games. You have the namesake of Gears of War in your name, the Coalition.
Right.
It's fascinating to me, obviously, with Ultimate Edition, like you said, it was a remake of the first game.
Right.
4, you even said it on stage at Microsoft. You kind of said, like, we wanted to prove that we could make a Gears game. You know, like, maybe there was a bit of a sense of playing it safe just to show fans, hey, we know what we're doing.
Right.
Would you say 5 is the time where you just get to run off and be weird and do some really cool things with this pre-existing formula?
Yeah, well, we're pretty weird already. So, but yeah, that was actually, really it. We only had, out of our entire team, only 3 of us had made a Gears game before when we did Gears, 4 and Ultimate Edition. So we really focused on, okay, let's get it right before we start changing anything. And I was just really surprised. Like, we had, had this plan about how to talk to people and like, hey, please trust us. We know. And very quickly, like the first E3, they were like, okay, we're good now. What are you doing new? And I'm like, oh, crap. I was really set up to try to prove ourselves a lot more than this. So, I love what we did with 4. I do think we purposely stayed sort of on the path. And so with 5, we have an opportunity to kind of, like I say, push the envelope to kind of go off the path a little bit more and try new and different things with the game, both in new modes, but also what we're doing with campaign, and just even what we're doing with the gunplay. Like, we've really enhanced the gunplay, that the reticle works completely different, the HUD works completely differently, the guns feel different, and I personally feel like they're tighter. So we've sort of tried to modernize it and make it more contemporary in sort of the world of shooters that are out there today. And like, you'll see a lot as we talk about it from now to September. You'll see like, oh, okay, I was surprised by that change.
Speaking of, let's talk more about the campaign. Didn't really show that much of it
Right.
this year, but last year we got a good look at what we can expect. What other things that you think are going to surprise fans from the campaign?
I just think there's a lot to surprise them with. Today at our Coliseum panel, we introduced our new cast member, Hau Kohli, who plays Foz, and we got to show a cinematic of that, of his introduction, and so having new cast members is always exciting. But you can sort of see in that last year's trailer, like the kinds of things we're sort of talking to. Like, Gears has traditionally been a hallway shooter, and you can see with the skiff and some of the gameplay things we're showing that we're trying to kind of open that up a little bit more. And so I think people will be excited about sort of the opportunities and the possibilities that we have there.
And I'm also curious, like, tonally with the campaign. Like Gears of War 4, there was some talk about going back to Gears semi-horror roots.
Right.
With Gears of War 5, is it going to be a continuation of 4? Are you going to try to go off in a different tonal, atmospheric sense?
Yeah, we're trying to kind of embrace the tone of the story even more. And I think you can see that in Kate's journey, and when we've had our Kate Broken, teaser at the beginning of our segment, which shows that there's a lot of conflict within her. And so we want to tell more of that story. And some of the things we're actually doing purposely now to kind of, we feel like when we first were doing the first trilogy, there was a big pressure about, no, don't do visuals, like don't put anything on the HUD. So we did a lot with sound. And so every action the character does makes a sound. Somebody says something, you active reload, you say something, you miss it, you say something, you shoot, you say something.
Most of which you probably can't say on the stream right
exactly.
now. Right? Yeah.
And so we found that actually now after, 14 years, that all my dialogue is built up, that you're hearing so much combat chatter that it starts to dilute the actual story dialogue. So one of the things we really did with Gears 5 was we went in and started scrubbing a lot of that stuff out and trying to minimize, so the tone of the story stays the same. You don't have this like sad moment and a cheer for your active reload back to a sad moment kind of thing. So we've really been trying to stay focused on consistency of tone throughout the story.
For people who haven't been able to play yet, you mentioned, I'm kind of backtracking here, but you mentioned you do want to make it feel more modern.
Yeah.
How would you describe the difference between how Gears used to feel and how Gears 5 feels?
Yeah, if you look at like all the way back to the OG days with Halo 1, they kind of figured out how to do dual stick console shooter, right? And that notion of how a reticle works and having pretty much a steady gun, but bloom be the indication of accuracy or inaccuracy. And we've had that for a long time. And so for 5, we actually went in and basically redesigned how that works. And so instead of relying on bloom out of the weapon, we actually rely a lot more on recoil. And so what that means is that each weapon has a different feel now and has a personality of its own. And it actually creates a little bit of a skill gap, because once you learn that an Enforcer kind of pulls up into the left, you can actually start to counter it as you're playing it. So you can get better with an Enforcer as you learn its recoil pattern. And you find that you'll see like the reticles are much more precise. They're not like a lot of big circles. They tend to be a little bit more precise about where they're going, and it gives you a lot more feedback. And that's one of the things you see on the screen, is that basically we have, you hit, so there's a white little X comes off it. Oh, you hit a weak spot, a red X comes off of it. Oh, you hit a weak spot with an active reload, a gold X comes off of it, and then it'll flash out when you kill something. So there's a lot more information coming to you through the reticle, which is really exciting to kind of get people to learn the weapons.
In terms of how it feels, obviously we still have like characters that we know from Gears 4 and before that, but in terms of how it feels, is there ever a point where you worry that it might not even feel like a Gears game anymore? Or are you always pretty confident that no matter, even if you make these minutia changes, it's always going to feel like Gears?
No, we're always looking at that. That's one of our big questions. Is it still a Gears game? Is it, how does it stay true to Gears while still pushing it? That's why we're not trying to break it too much. I talk a lot about when you're doing sequels, you have to worry about the sort of managing the betrayal of expectations. Right? If I betray your expectations too little, you're like, oh, it's the same game as last time, I don't want to play it. If I betray them too much, you're like, that's not even a Gears game anymore. And so you have to find this middle ground where you land on surprise and delight. Like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Oh, it's really cool. And so that's what we're constantly talking about is like, okay, how far can we push it? How much can we do to make it feel different and special, but not feel like we're breaking the formula that makes a Gears game a Gears game? Like, cover is still really important. Co-op is still really important. Character-driven story is still really important. Like, the things that make us who we are is still there, but we're pushing it all the different places where we can go.
Are you looking at other games for inspiration in terms of places to go?
I think there's lots of stuff. I think the hero shooter reference, when we look at MOBAs and things like that, is something where you go like, oh, there's things here that we could be tapping into around playing into those abilities. And same thing when you look at, like in Escape, we actually have we have health bars and numbers coming off. And a big part of that has to do with, if I'm going to get abilities and cards allow me to upgrade myself by earning them, then I want to see that damage change. If I'm doing 100 and I get a 12% increase, I want to see 112. And so in the modes, you can have some modes use just health bars, some use both, some use neither. And so it's an option you can turn on and off. But it creates this great feeling because if you see a health bar on a boss, you now know I'm going to go in. Like I can know it's right down. I'm going to charge and try. Like you have many more clutch moments because you have a better sense of when to rush in with the shotgun and try to make that last kill. Whereas before you're like, I think it's kind of hurt. I've seen a lot of blood come off of it, but I'm not sure if I should commit. And so now you can actually tell like, oh, now's the time to go. And it feels really, really good.
All right, last question. I'm sure it's pretty loaded, but you're head of the coalition, a studio that was formed specifically to make Gears games. You've got your next big release in only a few months from now in September. Right. What makes a Gears game, if you had to answer that semi-succinctly?
Yeah, we've been asking ourselves that question as we go to different platforms. Gears Tactics on PC, Gears Pop on mobile. And so we had to realize that the things we used to say were part of our brand Bible that we had to have, like brutality was something that was like, it has to be brutal. And then when we got to Gears Pop, we're like, well, maybe it doesn't have to be brutal to be a mobile game. But we did, one of the big things about the mobile game is it has to have cover and it has to have strong characters. And so those are the things we've actually been looking at. Oh, there's an umbrella around co-op or shared experiences, cover, strong characters. But then as you get into each execution, whether it's console, PC, mobile, and even as we go beyond that now with our comic book series, our novel, and even the movie, we talk about, okay, what do those things mean in each of those forms? And so it's exciting.
Awesome. Well, Rod Fergusson, thank you so much for joining us. And good luck with everything leading up to the September release of Gears of War 5.
All right, thank you.
If you're watching from home, we will be right back after a short break with our friends from Borderlands 3. Thanks so much for joining. We'll see you then.